Hello students, you have already studied about e-waste challenges, issues and management. For effective management of e-waste, e-waste legislation has been promulgated in the country. So, in this module we shall be studying about e-waste management rules 2016. The learning objectives of this module are to learn about the concept of e-waste, to know about generation of e-waste, to understand about e-waste management rules in India and functions and responsibilities of various stakeholders as given in these rules, and to understand about the procedure of obtaining authorization under these rules. Due to advancement in information technology uses of computer products and entertainment devices has tremendously increased. In domestic sector also, use of electrical and electronic appliances has increased, but these all equipments or instruments have high rate of obsolescence. Various items under e-waste include refrigerators, televisions, LEDs, LCDs, washing machines, computers, laptops, printers, notepads, mobiles, iPhones, even your pen drives, CDs, etc., etc. Let me come to the composition of e-waste. Although you have studied composition of e-waste in e-waste management module, but here just to brief that e-waste contain more than 100 different chemical substances and many of them are toxic. Dear students, please do Google and make a list of different toxic chemicals those are present in the e-waste, and also try to find out what are their harmful effects on humans and non-human biota. Various substances present in e-waste, they include ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals, plastics, iron and steel, glass, wood and plywood, then printed circuit boards, concrete, ceramics, rubber and other items, means so many different items are present in the e-waste. Hazardous substances present in the e-waste include lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, selenium, hexavalent chromium and even flame retardants, and these are present in the e-waste beyond threshold quantities. What is the status of e-waste in India? Globally, 93 lakh metric tons of e-waste is produced in 2016, and if we extrapolate this value, then this is going to increase very sharply in the next decade. India is 5th largest e-waste generator. About 18.5 lakh metric tons e-waste was produced in India in 2016. Among various items of e-waste, if we do a kind of classification that what are different items those are present in the e-waste, then we can say about 70% of e-waste is computer equipments, 12% is telecommunication equipments, 8% other electrical equipments, 7% are medical equipments, 3 to 4% is household e-scrap, and lot of e-waste is imported in India from different countries. Rather, many people say that India is a dumping ground of e-waste. So, protect our country, e-waste rules have been promulgated in this country. Legal and other efforts for e-waste management. Various efforts have been made for the e-waste management, and these efforts include Basel Convention, Factories Act 1948, Environment Protection Act, that is Umbrella Act, then Hazardous and Other Waste Management and Transboundary Movement Rules 2016 and e-waste management rule. So, these are some of the rules or legislations or treaties under which e-waste can be managed. Among these all, e-waste management rules are important, and recently promulgated rule is e-waste management rule 2016. Let me come to e-waste management rule 2016. These e-waste management rules were notified on 23rd March 2016, and these came into effect on 1st October 2016. These e-waste management rules of 2016 have replaced 2011 rules, and these rules contain comprehensive provisions on management of e-waste in India. Enactment of new rules in 2016 is part of the drive of the Union government to update the existing waste management norms or rules in India to make it more effective and environment friendly. What is the applicability and scope of e-waste management rule 2016? These rules of 2016 apply to every manufacturer, producer, consumer, bulk consumer, collection centers, then dealers, e-retailers, refurbishers, dismantlers, recyclers, all involved in manufacture, sale, transfer, purchase, collection, storage and processing of e-waste or electrical and electronic equipments listed in the Schedule 1 of these rules, including their components, consumables, parts and spares which make the product operational. Some exemption has also been given under these rules. So, these rules shall not apply to used as lead acid batteries are covered under the batteries rule 2001, and micro enterprises as defined in the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2016, and radioactive waste as covered under the provisions of Atomic Energy Act 1962 and rules made there under. E-waste management rules 2016 structure is given here. So, e-waste management rules have 4 schedules, 7 forms and 24 rules. Now, we will be discussing salient features of the schedules, forms and important rules one by one. This table gives the details of different schedules of these rules. These rules have 4 schedules. Schedule 1 is related with the categories of electrical and electronic equipment, including their components, consumables, parts and spares covered under these rules. Schedule 2 contains applications which are exempted from the requirement of sub-rule 1 of rule 16. Schedule 3 contains the targets for extended producer responsibility authorization, and schedule 4 contains the list of authorities and their corresponding duties. Then these rules have a total of 6 forms. Let me see these forms one by one. Form 1 is applicable to producers seeking extended producer responsibility authorization. Form 2 is a form that is for maintaining records of e-waste handled or generated. Form 3 is also a form for filing annual reports. Form 4 is application form for authorization of facilities possessing environmentally sound management practice for dismantling or recycling of e-waste. Form 5 is a form for annual report to be submitted by the State Pollution Control Board to the Central Pollution Control Board, and Form 6 is e-waste manifest. Under Rule 2, several definitions are given in these rules. So, let me have some important definitions. First, what is e-waste according to these rules? E-waste means electrical and electronic equipment, whole or in part, discarded as waste by the consumer or bulk consumer, as well as rejects from manufacturing, refurbishment and repair processes. Similarly, the definition of manufacturer is given. Manufacturer means a person or an entity or a company as defined in the Companies Act 2013, or a factory as defined in the Factories Act 1948, or a small and medium enterprises as defined in MSME Development Act 2006, which has facilities for manufacture of electrical and electronic equipment. Then definition of producer. Producer means any person who, irrespective of the selling technique used, such as dealer, retailer, e-retailer, etc., manufactures and offers to sell electrical and electronic equipment and their components or consumables or parts or spares under its own brand, or offers to sell under its own brand assembled electrical and electronic equipment and their components or consumables or parts or spares produced by other manufacturer or supplier, or offers to sell imported electrical and electronic equipment and their components or consumables or parts or spares. Then definition of extended producer responsibility. Extended producer responsibility means responsibility of any producer of electrical or electronic equipment for channelization of e-waste to ensure environmentally sound management of such waste. Extended producer responsibility may comprise of implementing take-back system or setting up of collection centers, or both, or having agreed arrangements with authorized dismantlers or recyclers either individually or collectively through a producer responsibility organization recognized by producer or producers in their extended producer responsibility authorization. Now, in this definition a word channelization has appeared. Now, what is the definition of channelization? Channelization means to direct the path for movement of e-waste from collection onwards to authorized dismantler or recycler. In case of fluorescent and other mercury containing lamps where recyclers are not available, this means path for movement from collection center to treatment, storage and disposal facility. In this rule, lot of emphasis has been given on the responsibilities. Rule number 4 to rule number 12 are related with the responsibilities of different people's organization, etc., which are involved with the e-waste management or e-waste business. Let me see what are these rules. In rule 4, responsibilities of the manufacturer is given. In rule 5, responsibilities of the producer are given. In rule 6, responsibilities of the collection center given. In rule 7, responsibilities of dealer are given. In rule 8, responsibilities of the refurbisher are given. In rule 9, responsibility of consumer or bulk consumer are given. In rule 10, responsibilities of the dismantler are given. Rule 11 deals with the responsibilities of the recycler, and rule 12 deals with the responsibilities of state government for environmentally sound management of e-waste. In addition to this, responsibilities of State Pollution Control Board and Central Pollution Control Board are given in the schedule 4. Let me discuss these responsibilities one by one. Rule 4, responsibilities of manufacturers. The responsibilities of manufacturers include to collect e-waste generated during the manufacture of any electrical and electronic equipment and channelize it from recycling or disposal. To apply for an authorization to the concerned State Pollution Control Board to ensure that no damage is caused to the environment during storage and transportation of e-waste, to maintain records of e-waste generated, handled and disposed, to make records available for scrutiny to State Pollution Control Board, to file annual returns related to e-waste with State Pollution Control Board on or before the 30th day of June. Rule 5 deals with the responsibilities of producers. The responsibilities of producer include to apply for extended producer responsibility, that is called as EPR authorization. EPR authorization should contain general scheme for collection of electrical and electronic equipments waste through various means, namely collection centers, dealers, PROs, buyback arrangements, deposit refund system, exchange scheme, etc. Primary duty is the proper and effective implementation of extended producer's responsibility. Discharge of EPR include to collect and channelize the e-waste generated from the end of life of their products or products with same EEE code, to collect and channelize historical waste. The collection and channelization shall be in accordance with the targets, and targets have been prescribed in the schedule 3 of these rules. Let me have a look on the targets as given in the schedule 3. For financial year 2016-17, e-waste collection target was 15%. For 17-18, e-waste collection target 30%. For 18-19, e-waste collection target 40%. And for 19-20 also, e-waste collection target 40%. For 2022-2022, e-waste collection target 50%, and 2022 onward the e-waste collection target is 70%. So, producers have to achieve these targets according to this schedule. The other responsibility of producers is to ensure that channelization of e-waste is as per EPR authorization. To ensure that requisite pre-treatment of e-waste is done to immobilize the mercury and reduce the volume of e-waste before the e-waste is sent to storage, treatment and disposal facility. This is also the responsibility of producer to provide information to consumers or bulk consumers regarding as name, email address, postal address, toll-free telephone numbers, contact numbers through website or product documentation, so as to ensure return of electrical and electronic equipments waste after end of their life. Creating awareness through media publications, advertisements, posters or by any other mean of communication and product user documentation accompanying the equipment is also the duty of the producer. Producer is supposed to create awareness about do's and don'ts with respect to e-waste. Producer is supposed to create awareness regarding hazards of improper handling and disposal of EEE, information on hazardous constituents of EEE. He should create awareness about recycling of e-waste means and modes for return, exchange, etc. of e-waste after the end of life. Visible, legible and indelible sign are to be following, indicating that e-waste is not to be thrown into the dustbin. This picture shows the symbol that should be made on all the EEE items to create awareness among consumers or bulk consumer, so that they don't dispose e-waste into dustbins. Import of electrical and electronic equipments allowed only to producers having EPR authorization, maintenance of records related to e-waste, and then filing of returns, and operating without EPR authorization shall be deemed to be a damage caused to the environment. So, there are huge responsibilities of the producer with respect to EEE manufacturing. Let me come to the responsibilities of collection centers. The responsibilities of collection centers are given in Rule 6, and these responsibilities include to collect e-waste on behalf of producer or dismantler or recycler or refurbisher, including from orphaned products, to ensure compliance with Central Pollution Control Board guidelines as to facilities, to ensure storage of e-waste in a secured manner, to ensure that no damage is caused to the environment during storage and transportation of e-waste, and they also have to maintain the records with respect to e-waste. Responsibilities of dealers. Responsibility of dealers are given in Rule 7. The responsibilities of dealers include to collect e-waste and provide a box or bin or demarcated area to the consumer if authorized, to send the e-waste to collection centers, dismantlers and recyclers, to refund the amount as per take back system or deposit refund scheme of the producer to the depositor of e-waste, to ensure that the e-waste is safely transported to authorized dismantlers or recyclers, to ensure that no damage is caused to the environment during storage and transportation of e-waste. Then responsibilities of the refurbishers. The responsibilities of refurbisher are given in Rule 8, and these responsibilities include to collect e-waste generated during the process of refurbishing and channelize it, to apply for one-time authorization with State Pollution Control Board. If no objection raised by State Pollution Control Board within 30 days, authorization shall be deemed to be granted, to submit details of e-waste generated annually to the State Pollution Control Board, to ensure that no damage is caused to the environment during storage and transportation of e-waste, to ensure that the refurbishing process do not have any adverse effect on the health and the environment, to ensure that e-waste is safely transported to authorized collection centers or dismantlers or recyclers, to file annual returns to State Pollution Control Boards on or before the 30th June, to maintain records of e-waste handled in prescribed manner and make them available for scrutiny by the appropriate authorities. Now, let me come to the responsibilities of the consumers or bulk consumers. Responsibilities of consumers or bulk consumers are given in Rule 9. The responsibilities of consumers or bulk consumers include to ensure that the e-waste is properly channelized through the collection centers or the authorized producer or the dealers or through the recycler or through the dismantler or through the authorized take back or buyback or exchange service provider of the producer to the recycler or the dismantler. Bulk consumers to ensure that they maintain the records of e-waste generated, disposed and handled. Bulk consumers to file annual returns to State Pollution Control Boards on or before 30th June. To ensure that such end of life electrical and electronic equipment is not mixed with the e-waste containing radioactive materials. Let me come to the responsibilities of the dismantler. responsibilities of the dismantler are given in Rule 10. The responsibilities of dismantler include to apply for and obtain authorization from State Pollution Control Board, to ensure that the procedure for the dismantling of the e-waste is as per the norms of Central Pollution Control Board, to ensure that no harm or damage is caused to the environment during the treatment and storage of the e-waste, to ensure that the non-recyclable and non-recoverable consumables and components are sent to the proper authorized centers for storage and disposal facilities, to maintain records in the prescribed form and manner, to file annual returns on or before 30th June, to ensure the security and registration and recognition of the workers working at the dismantling center. This is very important with respect to the health of the workers. To undertake proper maintenance of the health and safety measures for the workers working at the dismantling centers. Operating without EPR authorization shall be deemed to be a damage caused to the environment. Now, let me come to the responsibilities of the recyclers. The responsibilities of a recycler are given in Rule 11. The responsibilities of recycler include to ensure that recycling procedure is as per the norms and guidelines of the Central Pollution Control Board, to apply for and obtain authorization from State Pollution Control Board, to ensure that no harm or damage is caused to the environment during the transport and storage of the e-waste, to ensure that there are no adverse effect to the environment during the recycling process of the e-waste, and to maintain records in the prescribed form and manner, to file annual return on or before 30th June. Operating without EPR authorization shall be deemed to be a damage caused to the environment, to ensure the security and registration and recognition of the workers working at the recycling centers. Undertake proper maintenance of the health and safety measures for the workers working at the recycling centers. Operating without EPR authorization shall be deemed to be a damage caused to the environment. Now, responsibilities of the state government. Responsibilities of state government are given in Rule 12. These responsibilities include Department of Industries of other authorized government agencies to ensure earmarking of industrial space or shed for the dismantling and recycling of the e-waste, dismantling and recycling in industrial parks, estates, clusters. Departments of labor shall ensure that the agencies carrying on the dismantling and recycling work are undertaking the following preconditions. These preconditions are: ensure the security and registration and recognition of the workers working at the recycling centers, undertake proper maintenance of the health and safety measures for the workers working at the recycling centers, undertake industrial skill development activities, assist in formation of labor groups of such workers who are setting up such dismantling or recycling, preparation of an integrated implementation plan for the effective implementation of the e-waste management rule 2016 and reporting to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Responsibilities of Central Pollution Control Board are given in the Schedule 4. The responsibilities of Central Pollution Control Board are to entertain, evaluate applications for grant and renewal of EPR, authorization and monitoring of its compliance, to provide and update on website regarding extended producer responsibility authorization, to set and revise targets for collection of e-waste from time to time, coordination with state pollution control boards, preparation of guidelines for environmentally sound management of e-waste to conduct random check of importers, producers, dismantlers and refurbishers, documentation, compilation of data on e-waste and uploading on website, to take action against violation of these rules, conducting training programs, submit annual reports, ensuring compliance with rules concerning reduction in the use of hazardous substances in manufacturing of electrical and electronic equipments and setting standards for such substances. Responsibilities of State Pollution Control Board. These also given in Schedule 4. The responsibilities of State Pollution Control Board are to prepare inventory of e-waste, grant and renewal of authorization to manufacturers, dismantlers, recyclers and refurbishers, monitoring and compliance of EPR authorization, conduct random inspection of dismantler or recycler or refurbisher, maintain online information regarding authorization grant to manufacturers, dismantlers, recyclers and refurbishers, implementation of programs to encourage environmentally sound recycling of e-waste and to take action against the violations done with respect to e-waste. Responsibilities of port authorities. These are also given in Schedule 4, and these responsibilities of port authority include to verify the extended producer responsibility authorization, to inform Central Pollution Control Board of any illegal traffic for necessary action, to take action against importers for violations under the Indian Ports Act 1908 and Customs Act 1962. Procedure for seeking and grant of authorization is given in the Rule 13. The salient features of this rule are: producers are to apply for EPR authorization to Central Pollution Control Board within 90 days. Manufacturers to apply for authorization with State Pollution Control Board within 90 days. Other stakeholders like recyclers, dismantlers, refurbishers to apply for authorization to State Pollution Control Board within 120 days. State Pollution Control Board, Central Pollution Control Board, after making necessary inquiry, to grant authorization within 120 days. Validity of this authorization will be 5 years. Authorization may be refused if this State Pollution Control Board or Central Pollution Control Board are not satisfied. Authorization may be revoked, suspended or cancelled. Renewal applications to be filed 120 days in advance, and again renewal will be for 5 years. Storage of e-waste. Storage of e-waste is given in Rule 15. E-waste can be stored by manufacturer, producer, dismantler, refurbisher, collection center, recycler, etc. up to 120 days. Central Pollution Control Board can extend this period up to 365 days. Maintenance of records of collection, sale, transfer and storage of waste and make these records available for inspection. Reduction in the use of hazardous substances in the manufacture of electrical and electronic equipments and their components or consumables or parts or spares. This is given in the Rule 16. Every producer of electrical and electronic equipments to ensure lead, mercury, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, polybrominated phenyl ethers beyond a maximum concentration value of 0.1% in information technology and telecommunication equipments and consumer electrical and electronic equipment, and prohibition on import, exemption to electrical and electronic equipments in market before 1st May 2014, and they have the duty of annual reports. Rule 19. Rule 19 deals with the transportation of e-waste. manifest document to be prepared by the sender, and this is to be prepared in 3 copies containing the following details: sender's name, address, document number, then authorization number, transporter's name, address, phone number, vehicle type, vehicle number, vehicle registration number, receiver's name and address, and description of e-waste. Waste for final disposal shall be as per hazardous waste rules. Rule 20 is related to the accident reporting. Where an accident occurs at the facility processing e-waste or during transportation of e-waste, the producer, refurbisher, transporter, dismantler or recycler, as the case may be, shall report immediately to the concerned State Pollution Control Board about the accident through telephone and email. Let me come to Rule 21. Rule 21 deals with the liability of manufacturer, producer, importer, transporter, refurbisher, dismantler and recycler. Every manufacturer, producer, importer, transporter, refurbisher, dismantler and recycler shall be liable for loss caused due to improper handling of e-waste, and there may be responsible for loss caused to the environment and loss caused to the third party. Financial penalties shall be levied for any violation of e-waste rules by State Pollution Control Board. Rule 22. Rule 22 deals with the appeals. Any person aggrieved by an order of suspension or cancellation or refusal of authorization or its renewal passed by the Central Pollution Control Board or State Pollution Control Board may, within a period of 30 days from the date on which the order is communicated to him, prefer a appeal in Form 7 to the appellate authority comprising of Environment Secretary of the state. Delay in appeal may be condoned if the reasons are found genuine by the concerned authority. Every appeal filed under this rule shall be disposed of within a period of 60 days from the date of its filing. So, to conclude this module, based on this module, we can conclude that India has taken a step forward in reducing e-waste and managing the same to comply with its commitment towards protection of environment with sustainable development. We have also learnt that India is one among the largest generator of e-waste, and generation of e-waste is going to increase in the coming years. Rules cast responsibility on all stakeholders to reduce, handle and manage e-waste, including the consumer. You have seen that there are more than 9 rules and a schedule on the responsibilities of different stakeholders. Reduction in the use of hazardous substances in the manufacture of electrical and electronic equipments is also included or given in these rules. But the main thrust of these rules is on the responsibilities of stakeholders. I hope you have enjoyed this module. Thank you.